e kanaka Hawaii, kanaka Hawaii. He tuna taiti he pua ali I mai ka paahu mai mua ula nui a ke a kana aloa. He mo o puna nai ko lewa, na ke hauna papai hanau. Na tamali iwa hine a ku kala ni ehu. Lewa o ka kawa ko, na pula pula aina I whae kai. Ino no hole ke kai hina ko mohana. He whae ke ka muku I lalani. I hui atu hui mai me hole ni e. Aloha. And on behalf of the Maui Energy Conference, we'd like to welcome all of you, both Kama'aina and Malihini, to the beautiful island of Maui through chants that was provided by our ancestors, our kupuna, or those who came before us, as we welcome you here. And we hope that you enjoy this wonderful weekend of festivities about renewable energy. And we'd like to encourage you all to be open-minded and take care and malama with what's going to be presented this week. And so mahalo nui loa to all of you for joining us here at the Maui Conference, Maui Energy Conference. Mahalo. O nā tumua kua paui hānau I po I kalaikiku e ia mai ki kai mai. Nā tumua ia paui hānau I po I kalaikiku e ia mai ki kai mai. Nā la ia paui hānau I po I kalaikiku e ia mai ki kai mai. Nā vela ia paui hānau I po I kalaikiku e ia mai ki kai mai. Nā puali ia pau e ku e ola a kau a kaniko o palalau halali au makelo kolu pupu e. E tini o ke kua e tale hu o ke kua e talani o ke kua e tapu I atua. E tamano te tua e te tuana o te tua e te tua muti e te tua hawanawana te tua ti e o kapo. E te tua ala wau ke au moi. E hue ala e oni e eu. E a ha mea ia o ko la he hale. Aloha e, aloha e. Aloha.
Mahalo to Kumu Kopono Kaumana of Halau Manaya Kalane.
Aloha and welcome to the 2015 Maui Energy Conference. Aloha. Okay, you're awake. There's more coffee out there. I'm Tina Rasmussen, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. We're so pleased to be co-presenting this very important conference and thrilled to see so many here from across Hawaii and international destinations as well as the U.S. mainland. This conference, with its focus on the electric utility customer, is both timely and unique. The program has been designed to be thought-provoking, interactive, and will challenge us to let go of some of our more traditional notions of how electricity is distributed and inspire us to look to new models and emerging trends. And having attended dozens of conferences, all of us, I'm sure, we know that networking with your peers and colleagues is equally valuable, and therefore we've built in plenty of time for you to do that in our breaks, our lunches, and our evening reception, for you to take advantage of all the knowledge, the trade booths, and the wonderful people who are assembled here at this conference. Right now, I'd like to recognize our dedicated program committee members who kept you, the conference attendees, at the top of mind while they worked for months to put this dynamic program together. So we'll hold our applause till the end, but first we have Maurice Kaya, the program director of Pictor and former head of the State Energy Office. Bash Nola, utility consultant and former Southern Cal Edison executive. Colton Ching, Vice President of Energy Delivery for Hawaiian Electric. Jay Griffin, Policy and Research Director of the Hawaii Public Utilities Commission. Jonathan Cohn, the Regional Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Boulder. Doug McLeod, former Energy Commissioner, County of Maui. Holly Benz, Vice President, Schneider Corporation. And Frank Dorrego Jr., Business Development Director for the Maui Economic Development Board. Let's give them a big hand for their tremendous work. Thank you to all of our program committee members, and we know that we're looking forward to what you've spent all this time putting together. We also know that we could not have produced this conference without the tremendous support of our sponsors. And so right now I'd like to thank our terawatt sponsors for this conference, Hawaiian Electric, Maui Electric, and Hawaii Electric Light, and Nextera Energy. Our megawatt sponsors, Hawaii Energy, Hawaii State Energy Office, Hawaii Natural Energy Institute, and Hitachi. Our kilowatt sponsors, Hawaii Gas, Hawaii Technology Development Corporation, Sempra Energy, and Ulupono Initiative. And our microwatt sponsors, 3D Builders, Kauai Island Utility Co-op, Pacific Biodiesel, Maui, Hawaii Commercial and Sugar Company, O-Power, Steffens Corporation, and Sun Edison. Let's give a big thank you to our sponsors. We thought it might be interesting for you to see a little bit of what the demographics of the attendees of this conference are. So we're putting up a slide here that shows that a whopping 68% of you are here from the business sector and 18% from government. Only 32% of you are from Maui Island, and 66% of you are from other places. We're very pleased about that. And 26% of our attendees are from either international or mainland US locations. And 42% are from other Hawaiian islands. And then there's quite a difference in percentage of males to females. But anyway, we're so thrilled that you have all joined us and come from near and afar to take place in this conference, to take part in this conference for the next 3 days. We do hope, though, that you'll take some time while you're on our beautiful island of Maui to enjoy some of the many activities we have. It's whale watching season, and you could do a bike trip down Haleakala Crater, or you could just go to Haleakala Crater and watch the sunset. We have many agritourism destinations, newly opened Maui Ocean Vodka, and then we have a Li'ikula Lavender or Surfing Goat Dairy, just to name a few. And don't forget about our world-class cuisine available in many of our trendy restaurants around the island. I would like to take this time to offer a huge mahalo to the hosts of this conference, the Maui Arts and Cultural Center, which we lovingly call the MAC. This beautiful facility is the arts and entertainment hub for our community. It was built with community donations and is run as a private nonprofit. And we are so proud to be able to have this conference in this beautiful facility. We want to thank Art Vento and the entire staff and management of the MAC for their tremendous assistance in the production of this conference. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you. Our co-presenter in this conference is the Maui Economic Development Board. MEDB is our private sector partner for economic initiatives throughout our county, and we love collaborating with this very talented team. Our next speaker, Jeannie Skog, has been serving as the president of MEDB for 16 years and has led the organization through transformational changes in becoming a leader in innovation and technology advances, not just for our county, but far beyond. Just one small example of an MEDB innovation is the Island Energy Inquiry, which is a learning curriculum they developed to engage students in rigorous explorations of real energy issues in our islands. This is the first homegrown clean energy curriculum in the state, and in fact, MEDB was recently asked to take this curriculum to Thailand to help train teachers there to adapt it for their students. We're so proud to be co-presenting with Maui Economic Development Board, and ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Ms. Jeannie Skog.
I'm a little shorter. The world's really different from up here. Okay, well, aloha, everyone, and welcome as well from us. And thank you, Tina, for the really kind introduction. You know, there are 160,000 residents in Maui County, and in a community our size, it's really important that we pull together to leverage our resources. So from day one of our existence, MEDB's existence, the county has been a key partner in economic development. And I'm happy that that relationship has continued with Tina at the helm of the Office of Economic Development. She's been an extremely capable leader of that robust department, really innovating a number of different programs along the way. And we've all benefited from her significant experience as a successful small businesswoman in her past. So it's been a pleasure, again, teaming with the Office of Economic Development to present this 2015 conference. MEDB was created in 1982 to serve as a catalyst for economic diversification through knowledge-based industries, through sustainable knowledge-based industries. We knew then that energy was going to be an enduring part of our mission. A year after we were formed, we held our first conference on energy. Energy companies who are trying to navigate through Maui County to establish here were and are an ongoing part of our portfolio. We learned and led through our own projects, becoming the first commercial building on Maui to install PV, and just 2 weeks ago, learned we achieved Maui's first LEED certification for existing buildings. We were also the first to develop a clean energy curriculum in the state of Hawaii, as Tina kindly mentioned. And in 2011, we joined other partners in the groundbreaking Jump Smart Maui project involving electric vehicles and the grid. Today, we join all of you in focusing on the customer. As Tina said, it's a timely discussion. Our residents look out at the energy landscape. They see change, rapid change, to a once relatively predictable life with energy. Windmills, PVs, EVs, suddenly lower prices on gas. They read about smart grids and ask, what is liquid natural gas? Then there's the news about a major merger. Some customers see it as a time of turmoil and are concerned about an uncertain future. But it is also a time of incredible possibilities. And this conference is about those possibilities, about uncovering those possibilities. So at the end of these 2 days, we hope the discussion triggered by our stellar presenters and panelists will offer some level of clarity, a way forward on how to solve our energy challenges around customer choices, prices, education, equity, infrastructure, and policy. It's a tall order, but I think we have all of the resources on stage and in this room to get there. So I really look forward, we all look forward to hearing all about it. I also want to extend my thank you on behalf of the whole program committee to our exhibitors. They really add a wonderful dimension to this conference and allow you to go one-on-one, more in-depth with the resources we have available here. So let's give them a hand, please. On another note, even those of you who are not presenting contribute a wealth of knowledge and information to the dialogue. We know those conversations that occur in the hallways or over lunch or exhibitor booths can really be the big takeaway for the time that you've spent here at the conference. So this year, we've added an app to aid in those connections. And if you haven't already done it, we encourage you to follow these directions on how to download it. And by the way, by all means, post and tweet. We would also ask you to please, at the end of the 2 days, fill out the feedback form. We really do look at those forms very carefully from year to year, and that really helps us determine what we do in the year coming up. So please take the time to fill that out. Now, speaking of possibilities, it's my pleasure to introduce the mayor of the County of Maui. He was re-elected in November to another 4 years of possibilities. Energy has been a priority since his first term, and probably even before that. He has never wavered from that priority. Maui's energy mix was at 15% renewables at the start of his term. It is at more than 30% now, a significant increase toward our goal. I think we can all agree that a supportive public sector is critical to advances in the energy space. So we are fortunate that Mayor Arakawa continues to seek and assist new opportunities that pave the way to a cleaner energy future for all of us. His support, by the way, stretched beyond his title. 18 months ago, he and his wife, Ann, acquired a Nissan Leaf and became volunteers in the Jump Smart Maui project. Please help me welcome Mayor Alan Arakawa.
Aloha and mahalo for letting me speak here today. I just wanted to express my sincere gratitude to all of you for the great welcome and to have the opportunity to talk to such an illustrious group. You know, last night we had a really good reception and talked to a lot of friends, made a lot of new acquaintances, and it's just a tremendous opportunity to have so many experts in one area to be able to have good conversations. It's been quite a year as far as energy goes here in Hawaii. For example, last year when I spoke to all of you, oil was still selling for $100 a barrel. How is it that I was surrounded by all of you experts and not one of you, not one, predicted that oil prices were going to drop by half? How come? On top of that, if you had asked me or anyone else outside of the energy industry who NextEra was last year, we all would have said, NextEra, who? What a difference a year makes. When the price of fossil fuel drops like this, it is important to remind ourselves why we keep encouraging more renewable energy. It's not just to save money, although that is important. It's about freedom, self-sufficiency, and sustainability. These wild price swings are proof that as long as we are forced to import oil, we are subject to forces beyond our control. This is why around the world you are seeing more and more island communities becoming renewable energy leaders. For example, King Island, Australia is about 424 square miles and has a population of less than 2,000 people. However, they are still able to use the island's tremendous wind resources to generate 100% renewable energy. Then there's El Hierro, or Hierro, a Spanish island with about 10,000 inhabitants. They already have a water turbine that generates electricity, but there's also an 11.5 megawatt wind farm that is supposed to come online soon. When that happens, El Hierro will go off the grid as well. On the other side of the spectrum, you have Cape Verde in West Africa. They're an island archipelago with about 500,000 people. I'm told energy costs there are sky high. In response, Cape Verde has initiated an ambitious policy not just to run on 100% renewable energy. They eventually want to generate 300% and either sell or store their surplus. Everywhere you turn, island nations and island communities are finding ways to becoming self-sufficient in terms of energy. We no longer want to be tethered to the oil market and have to pay fluctuating costs for traditional fuel. In other words, we are all working to lower the price of paradise. Some of these communities have abundant natural resources that they just haven't tapped into yet, such as the island of Dominica in the East Caribbean, where 325 rivers have the huge potential for hydroelectricity. Tuvalu, Tokelau, and the Cook Islands are also rapidly moving toward their 100% goals as well. Personally, as mayor of Maui County, I would like either Maui, Molokai, or Lanai to be one of the first U.S. island communities to join the list of 100% renewable places that are either working toward their goals or are already there. We don't want to have to be experts in the oil industry just to figure our annual budgets. Instead, we want to be in a position where we do not need to care what happens to the oil prices. Slowly but surely, we are making progress. Currently, MECO provides electricity made up with 30 to 35% renewable energy, depending on the weather conditions. That's good, but we're still 65 to 70% away from our goal. Back in school, if you got a 30, 35%, you really need to start hitting the books a lot more because your scores weren't that great. People who heard me say that we need to be 100% renewable years ago thought I was making pie-in-the-sky campaign promises just to get reelected. Well, I'm in my third and final term as Maui mayor, and I am still saying this. Maui County's goal is still 100% renewable. As I've pointed out earlier, other islands around the world have either already attained this goal or are aggressively pursuing it. The goal is real. The goal is obtainable. Using already proven technology, wind turbine, solar, PV, storage, and all the other alternatives, we can make changes right now. We don't have to wait until HECO and NextEra figure out their situation. We learned so much in the last several years already. We understand the trade-offs involved in wind farms and solar farms. We have the expert knowledge here in Maui County so that we can add more wind and solar by putting it in the right places and making sure the power gets used, not wasted. We can do other things like reduce our nighttime electricity use because none of the solar panels are giving power at night and MECO still has the highest demand at night. These types of simple awarenesses can benefit the whole community. Street lights are a perfect example of nighttime electricity use that can be reduced. At some point, we hope to be moving forward with a plan to convert county street lights to LED lighting. We will keep looking for other good products. We can also reduce a lot of the lighting and electrical costs in our buildings by going to LED. Also, did you know that here on Maui Island, we already have the highest EV density in the world? That's right. Per capita, we have more EVs here than anywhere else in the world. I can honestly say, and I'm very pleased, that my family, my wife, is part of this EV transition. In fact, my wife likes her EV so much, I'm really not allowed to drive her car. It was supposed to be my car. It became her car. And I always get, almost every month, when the electric bill comes in, I get the lecture about, when the gas bill comes in, I get the lecture about her gas bill is 0, and my gas bill is still 300 plus. Why do we have so many EVs? Because we have the infrastructure for it, and thanks to Jump Smart Maui, the project funded by the Japanese government agency NIDO, the NIDO team is led by Hitachi, and we appreciate their willingness to invest in the infrastructure needed for EVs. They took a leap of faith, and they've been doing really good work here. We encourage MECO to take advantage of these resources and come up with a clear plan to allow people to charge their EVs late at night with wind power that would otherwise be wasted or curtailed. This is another example of something that does not need to wait for merger. For us to have an energy system that can be considered sustainable, we must continue to increase the levels of renewable energy. Our energy system cannot be based around fuel shipped from thousands of miles away where the oil or gas or something else. This conference is about customers that buy electricity. How do you satisfy them? How do you make them happy? Here on Maui, the county is the largest customer of MECO, and I already know what they need to do to make us happy. They must be prepared to buy more wind power, more solar power, or any of the other reasonable alternative energy products. And they must support EV use. It's very simple. And I will point out that they have been good partners and have been very supportive to this point. Finally, if we talk about having and becoming 100% renewable, then I believe we also have to talk about the possibility of deregulation. Because if you're going to produce energy differently, and use energy differently, you have to manage it differently as well. Deregulation allows free market to set prices and gets rid of monopolies. At least, that's the theory. Then again, some argue that electricity is too precious a commodity to leave to the market, and that it exposes people to fraud and excess risk. We all saw what happened in California after they deregulated. They didn't do a very good job. They didn't plan it well. Energy prices eventually fell, but not before spiraling out of control. Like anything else, deregulation, this is a process. It's how you implement it. Maui is not California. We have different challenges and different advantages. But before you put a plan into action, or even start coming up with a plan, we must start the discussion. These are all very good reasons for discussions, and this is the group that really needs to start that discussion, and right now. Because we know that unless you do the groundwork, unless you do the prep work, we don't want to start a plan without having a really good idea of what's going to happen. And we need to do this because who knows what next year will bring. As Thomas Edison once said, discontent is the first necessity of progress. Well, it's safe to say that if you're here at this conference, you share some degree of discontent. So now, let's talk about and let's make some progress. Mahalo. Thank you again for inviting me today. Aloha and God bless.
Good morning, folks. I'm Doug McLeod, and it's my pleasure to welcome so many of you back again this year. You know, we've all heard some version of the phrase, life is what happens when we're busy making other plans. And this year, the planning committee for this event was well into finalizing the scope of the program when something happened in our own backyard that we couldn't ignore, something that really represented activity on the national level. The event, of course, is NextEra's planned merger with Hawaiian Electric. We cannot do justice to the energy scene in Hawaii without turning the spotlight on these two companies. And on behalf of the program committee, I want to thank both NextEra and HECO for their willingness to appear this morning and speak. I'm going to take a minute to give a brief bio for both Eric Gleason and Alan Oshima. Then we will turn the podium over to them to hear their thoughts on the customer relationship. After both gentlemen have given their remarks, we will accept questions from the audience. In your program materials, you will find slips to allow you to submit written questions. Those questions will be brought down to the front where the County of Kauai Energy Coordinator, Ben Sullivan, thank you, will be helping us in sorting these questions. A note about the scope of questions. Many of the people attending this conference represent organizations that are involved in active dockets in front of the Hawaii PUC. The Commission itself has been extraordinarily generous to us with its most valuable resource, time. We're grateful this year that the Chief Counsel for the Commission and its Head of Policy and Research are both moderating panels. And one of the commissioners is also speaking on a panel. Please understand that the Maui Energy Conference is not a PUC proceeding, and no action is being taken during the conference on any docket items. In addition, statements made by keynote speakers, moderators, and panel members represent individual comments and observations about the trends affecting our industry, not the position of their organizations in any active PUC dockets. You'll hear this disclaimer several times over the next several days. When you ask your questions, please avoid narrow topics covered by active dockets. For example, asking if NextEra would support specific circuit penetration levels for PV on the Oahu grid, not an appropriate question. Same point with regard to specific rate structures. Folks, ask broader questions, please. Anyway, I want to go ahead and give you some very brief biographical information for two gentlemen that have become the faces of this proposed merger. And our first speaker will be Alan Oshima. And Alan was appointed CEO of HECO fall of last year. And he has a legal background, and I think that you'll see that. You know, there's really been a change in some of the ways that HECO interacts with people around the state, and you know, perhaps part of this is a thoughtful legal background. We'll also hear this morning from Eric Gleason, and Mr. Gleason has a background that includes the military, includes a Harvard MBA, and includes time and investment banking. And although I think in your program materials he's shown as having a role with the transmission subsidiary, I think, in fact, they've also announced there's going to be a NextEra Energy Hawaii, and Mr. Gleason is going to be the head of that. So anyway, we look forward to listening to these two gentlemen with their thoughts on the customer. We look forward to your questions, and thank you. And I'm going to ask these two to step out now and join us for the speech.
Thanks so much, Doug. Really appreciate the kind introduction. Eric and I, actually I'm going to speak for Eric right now, just because we're both really pleased to be asked to start the conference today. It's a great honor, and of course our merger occupies a lot of airtime, and it's a hot topic not only among the energy community, but all of our customers throughout the state. So we're really pleased to be here, and this conference is such a great venue to collect people and really exchange ideas. So we thank you for the opportunity, Doug. Eric and I actually have been so busy that we just caught up right before today's out in the lobby to go over the slides. But we've been doing some of this for a while, and so we're going to do some handoffs as we go along, and you'll kind of get the picture of where we are as Hawaiian Electric, what NextEra brings to the table, and how we think the merger really makes sense for Hawaii. So as you can see, we're both aligned in trying to achieve a more renewable future, a clean future for Hawaii. We think we can do that. The partnership, I think, makes a lot of sense. As we get to know NextEra better, by the way, last week, we were all in Florida. Our executive team went to Florida to get to know our counterparts. And we saw some of the great technology, their alignment with the community, their respect for their employees, and their respect for the customers. And this all aligns with what I'm about to share with you on our transformation and show you how the two companies really will be great partners. Our 2030 goals were set when we filed our power supply improvement plans, our distributed generation interconnection plans, our DR plans last August. The Commission gave us 4 months to come up with some very comprehensive plans. We worked tirelessly to put them together with the help of some very competent consultants. A lot of it was in place in the company. We needed to bring it all together and to come up with plans to file with the Commission and show all of you what our vision for Hawaii's renewable energy future should look like. They're still before the Commission, so they're not set in concrete, and we've always taken the position that our plans were the start of the conversation, not the end. So as people provide comments to us, and we certainly know that our future in renewable energy is really tied to advances in technology. Technology will drive what we can do. So you can see on the slide that we look for 65% renewables by 2030, and it varies by island. That's our consolidated picture. We would triple distributed solar to over 900 megawatts, and that, again, is a consolidated number. And we would lower bills by 20%. And we say bills and not rates because we're looking at it holistically. The customer really looks at their bill and not their rates. And what you will see, what we're trying to do is give customers options, and it kind of fits with the theme of this conference. We have reorganized how we look at things in the company. And Doug, thanks for mentioning that. I've had years in regulatory legal experience, but not in operations. I did some operations when I was with the telephone company for a few years, but it's exciting for me, and people ask me how I'm doing, how I feel I'm doing in this new job. And I always smile and say that I'm really enjoying it. It's been fun. And people find that hard to believe with all of the things going on in the energy picture in Hawaii. But I'll tell you that change is exciting, change can be fun, and change is necessary. So our company knows that. We know that we have to feel the urgency our customers feel. We know we have to lower bills. We know we have to reach renewable standards. And we were here yesterday for the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative meeting. And what's astounding about Hawaii, like nowhere else, maybe in the world, is that all of the parties are so aligned in reaching a common goal, and that's to reach a clean energy future for our state. This alignment will drive the results. What we're doing in the company is breaking down how we operate and bringing people from various sectors of our company, finding people who are willing to change and move, and working on initiatives cross-culturally within our company. So no longer are just the engineers working on things, looking at it from an engineering point of view. We have customer relations people. We have government people. We have communications people looking at it as teams. So that's part of our transformation initiative. You'll see the initiatives on your screen. Distributed PV, of course, the hot topic. 13% of our customers on Oahu have rooftop solar, 12% consolidated statewide. That's astounding when other utilities see that figure. National average, 0.5%. So we lead the nation, and because of that leadership, we encounter issues before people understand them. And so that's a communications issue that we face. But we are committed to continuing to have rooftop solar and grid solar as part of our diverse generation portfolio. To lower the bills and to really avoid some very costly capital improvements on aging generation plants that were designed decades ago based upon oil, we have to find a cleaner, more affordable fuel. liquefied natural gas fits the bill. And so we've been proceeding to seek a reasonable way, reliable way to deliver a cleaner fuel that will avoid costly compliance capital to our aging plants, as well as a more stable energy source. Now, as you all know, we don't mark up our fuel. Right now, it's about 50% of our bill. Fuel or fuel-related taxes, et cetera, constitute about 50% of our bill. It used to be 70% of our bill. But with the recent decline in oil prices, that has changed. We would like that to be a more stable experience for our customers, where we can depend upon less volatility on our fuel side as we transition to a complete renewable future. The grid modernization is so important for all of this to happen. We have 5,200 pilot customers on smart grid on Oahu with great results, with less than a 1% opt-out rate because of the way we instituted it. We're having great results. It's going to bring a lot of possibilities to our customers. It's all about giving customers information, choices, and giving the company data so that we can operate more efficiently and more cost-effectively. I can go into that in more detail later. Then, customer-centric products and services. I like to give the example of the first cell phone in Hawaii, 1985. I was the attorney for then Honolulu Cellular Telephone Company. Governor Kaitana gave the first cell phone call in Hawaii from Tamarind Park on Bishop Square back to the Capitol, 2 blocks away. And the cell phone, as some of you may remember, the younger ones won't, weighed about a brick. It was called a brick, and it had a half-hour battery life, and each call was like a long-distance call. Again, the younger people don't even know what a long-distance call is, but you paid by the minute, and it was 50 cents a minute for any call, incoming or outgoing. So businesses did not list their cell phones on their business cards because they want people calling them and having to pay for it. That was in 1985. So exponential change in the communications industry, and today we have our smartphones, and occasionally we use it for telephone calls. But we actually use it for almost everything else, right? Our contacts, our music, text messaging, email, internet. And again, I say occasionally we actually talk to people on it. So that's how that has changed. The electric industry is no different. It's changing exponentially. And we have to face up to that. The reason I bring up the cell phones is that it gives value to our customers value the product. You don't hear people complaining about their cell phone bill. But in many cases, the cell phone bill is much higher than their electric bill, which powers everything in our households and our businesses. We have to give our customers the feeling of value and not just an expectation of reliable service. We have to give them options. We're no longer a monopoly. We have to give customers choice. And so coming up with new products and services is part of it. We are being very aggressive in coming up, being the facilitator, because Hawaii is a natural place for electric vehicles. And not only cars, but other types of transportation. We think we can pull together an electrical transportation plan that makes sense, will help us, help our customers, help the state. Except on Hawaii Island, we don't have range anxiety that troubles people on the mainland. So we are a natural place to institute EVs, and so we're working hard to come up with that plan, for example. But there are other things that we'd love to do and we're working on. Then, of course, to do all of this will involve changing the regulatory model. We used to live from rate case to rate case, and you filled out pretty much the same format and filed it with the commission, and you'd go through the same, I don't want to demean it, but the same song and dance with the same parties to get a result at the end of the case, and you moved on. And now things are happening so rapidly that we all have to be part of how we move forward as a state. And we can't really rely upon that old model of regulation. We all have to be at the table planning the state's future and making it better for everyone. That's our transformation. I kind of went through this, but you will see on distributed PV, for example, exponential change. Who knew that we would have 54,000 customers on rooftop PV in Hawaii? In 2008, we had 850. So, people can say you should have seen it coming. Well, exponential change happens, prices drop, public policy incents behavior with great tax credits, and things happen. Hawaii is the leader in this effort, and it does bring technical issues to the forefront. So others look to us to see how are we handling those technical issues, because what we're seeing in Hawaii is what's going to happen throughout the nation, hopefully. And we are experiencing those issues earlier than anyone else. Cleaner fuel. I kind of talked about liquefied natural gas. And I can answer questions about it as we move forward. But what it does for us is gives us a stable platform in order to do all of the other things we need to do and not invest more into aging power plants that will tie us to oil for a longer period of time. We have grid solar. We have, as you all know, on Maui, a high penetration of wind. On Oahu, we have about 100 megawatts of wind. These are all variable, intermittent sources, not base load. And so it creates issues for us in terms of how we provide reliable power to our customers. 88% of our customers do not have solar. The 12% who do rely upon us for evening when the sun doesn't shine. They're drawing power from us. So how we operate a system that was designed for one-way flow of electrons from what I call steady eddy power plants that just were set and forget. And now we are operating them in modes that are unnatural, trying to adjust to the intermittency of solar and wind and trying to create a stable grid for the technology that all of our customers have in their businesses and homes and that they demand a reliable, sustainable power supply. We're getting there. And of course, I've talked about grid modernization. Smart grid will be something that we all expect, our customers will want, and you'll hear more about that from Eric as to their experience in Florida. And then we've already talked about our customer-centric. We have to listen to our customers. We cannot dictate what will happen in the energy future. We have to be listeners. And we have to be implementers of technology. I think where we fell behind, and it's at no fault of anyone, was that we were reacting to technology, and we've learned. We have to be at the forefront of technology, the early adopters. And what this means to all of our customers, the expectation has to change. Whatever decision we make now will be second-guessed 6 months from now. Because of exponential change, prices will drop. New technologies will emerge. But we have to make smart, informed decisions and not just get stuck by the marketplace creating new products all the time. We have to make decisions and move forward. And again, we look forward to working with our regulators, the legislature, and others to set a new model for how we all act in this new environment. NextEra, as the speakers before us have already said, was the December surprise for many people. It offers our companies a great opportunity to connect up with a company that's much larger than we are and already there with technology, great purchasing power, great access to capital, and so aligned in how we feel about moving to renewables. But you'll see from this, as a snapshot, NextEra is the nation's leading clean energy company, #1 for wind in the world, I think now. Florida Power and Light has great resources combined with the non-regulated side of NextEra. in doing great things for the customer. It's all about the customer, and that's where we are so aligned. Then you can see that they operate in so many states and have a lot of employees. But with that experience, that can be transferred to us as well in so many ways. And we can get into details as you ask questions. The leader in innovation is where I think there's such a great benefit to us. Economies of scale make a big, big difference in this industry. And becoming, as I said, not a follower of innovation, but a leader and foretelling innovation is going to be what creates a Hawaii that is sustainable. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Eric, who can tell you more about NextEra and Florida Power and Light.
Thank you, Alan and Doug. Good morning, everyone. So when I listen to Alan talk, and I've had a lot of opportunities to listen to Alan talk recently, I think it struck me this morning that if you did a word count, frequency count of the words he used, to me at least, 3 words stand out: customers, technology, and choice. And I think the vision that he has and that the company's developed to transform how they do business is something we support and we're very excited about being a part of. So I'm going to come back to that, but let me tell you a little bit more about our business just so you know where we're coming from. Florida Power and Light, Alan mentioned, one of the larger utilities in the country. We have 4.7 million customers in the state. You can see there the blue is the actual service territory, so it's about geographically about half the state, most of the population. And we're very focused on our customers. We went through a transformation of our own. It started about 30 years ago. And over time, we have continuously improved our customer value proposition. So what do I mean by that? Customers in Florida, and by the way, let me pause here. We totally get that Florida and Hawaii aren't the same, and that customers in Hawaii and people in Hawaii don't necessarily want exactly the same thing as customers and people in Florida, and that's terrific. We embrace that. We do business in a lot of places, and customers aren't the same everywhere you go. But our customers in Florida do want a few things. They wanted cleaner energy, they wanted more reliable energy, they wanted more affordable energy. That's what we focused on giving them. So in Florida, the big issue our customers had on the clean front was we were highly dependent on oil. Actually, Florida as a state back in the day was as dependent in terms of percentage-wise as Hawaii is today on oil. And over time, we've chipped away at that. And since 2001, actually, within Florida Power and Light, we've reduced our consumption of oil from 40 million barrels a year to a couple 100,000 barrels a year, so a 99% reduction. And along the way, we've actually saved our customers a lot of money, $7.5 billion in fuel savings since 2001. So that's a good example, and we're big believers that you can make things cleaner, and you can save customers money at the same time, and we're always looking for opportunities to do that. Another thing we're very focused on is reliability. So, you can look at a bunch of different statistics. There's a lot of ways of looking at it, but basically when you benchmark us, across the sector, we're in the top quartile or even the top decile on a range of reliability metrics. And then affordability. So Florida Power and Light is, as you see on the bottom of the chart there, 25% below the national average, our residential rates. We actually have just asked the Public Service Commission for permission to further lower the rates. So if they say yes, which hopefully they will, I'm a customer, so I look forward to this, we'll be 30% below the national average, less than 10 cents a kilowatt hour. There are 55 utilities in the state of Florida. They range from investor-owned utilities to cooperatives to municipal utilities, and FPL for more than 5 years has had the lowest rates in the state. So I come back to, we are big believers and have been for 30 years and have demonstrated that you can drive down costs and improve reliability and make things cleaner all at the same time. So that's what we try to do for our customers. Then within NextEra Energy Resources, so this is a business that 20 years ago didn't exist. We got it, started in a small way. We were a Florida utility, started in a small way in renewable energy outside of Florida. And basically we've learned, sometimes from our mistakes, sometimes from things that have gone well. And as time has gone by, invested more and more organizational resources and financial capital. We're put over $20 billion into the renewable energy business. And you see now it's across about half the country and half of Canada. We're now this actually just happened in 2014. We became the world's largest generator of renewable energy from the wind and sun. So you can hopefully appreciate that we love the renewable energy business. So we get asked this question a lot, why, that's all great, NextEra Energy, why are you here? And, where did the interest from Hawaiian Electric come from? So there's a few things that really stand out in answering that question. The first is, obviously, we are a clean energy company who has a history of helping our customers get, off the addiction to oil. And so when we look at Hawaii, we see a very exciting opportunity for a clean energy company. For a lot of clean energy companies, actually, but also something that's exciting to us, which is, I don't have to tell you, you all know this, but it is striking. We're here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We're at the end of a lot of global supply chains, and we, are highly dependent on oil. And yet, at the same time, here we are, blessed with prolific, diverse, world-class renewable energy resources. And there's this great opportunity to substitute one for the other. And obviously a lot of progress has been made, and something like 20% renewable energy across the state in electricity, but there's a lot more progress that could be made. So that gets us excited. Secondly, people talk, and I actually first, I didn't come to this conference last year, but I did read about it. I know it was a big success, and I think one of the speakers actually used this term, postcard from the future, and we've borrowed it and reused it shamelessly. But it really is. We think, and this is our belief, and hopefully there are a lot of fellow true believers in the audience here. We believe renewable energy is the future. Okay, we've been in the business for a while. We think we know something about it, and the costs keep coming down and down, and we see more and more customers who want that instead of, the alternative of fossil fuels and other conventional technologies. And so our belief is renewable energy is the end game winner amongst, sources of supply in the power industry. But the challenge, as we all know, is, as we're learning in Hawaii, is integrating it in large quantities is really difficult. It poses, I've actually gone through this. I had a room of electrical engineers and asked them, can you run a grid with 100% intermittent renewables and batteries? And it's a divided opinion. And maybe we could probably do an interesting poll in this room, but that's the direction that things are headed. How do you actually use technology? And obviously technology is changing. How do you leverage it to enable this clean energy transformation? Hawaii is going to answer those questions quicker than anywhere else in the U.S. And maybe, and I think the mayor talked about a couple examples in other parts of the world. There's some differences there, but I think in a lot of ways Hawaii is going to be pioneering. That's going to require, new ways of doing business and also develop an ecosystem. A lot of people in this room are involved in this transformation and ultimately may be able to apply, the knowledge, the technologies in other places. That's very exciting. And I think the last point on the page here is really around the ability to make a difference. So when we look at all this, we look at what's going on in Hawaii, we look at what Alan and Hawaiian Electric are trying to do, and we think about the capabilities that our company's developed. And by the way, we don't come here thinking we have all the answers, okay? We have some capabilities, some of which we think are relevant, and we're excited about the ability to contribute to that process. So a little more specifics around that. How do we see ourselves helping? And this is, obviously this is a conversation that's been going on with Hawaiian Electric for 9 months, kind of in some ways centered on this page, which is they've got a lot of things going on. How can NextEra help? So Alan talked about the goals that they have, which are big goals, the transformation initiatives they have underway. And I got to tell you, I've been in the utility business for a while. I've never seen a company with so many big transformation initiatives going on at the same time. They've got a lot on their plate. And so what we've asked ourselves the question is, how can we help with that? And let me just give you some examples. Obviously, this is all going to be explored in great detail and have to be validated as part of the PUC approval process, which we're delighted to be a part of. But just to give you some examples, Alan mentioned smart grid, smart meters in particular. We have almost all of our customers in Florida have smart meters. We were one of the early adopters. I believe I'm right to say we were the first utility in the Eastern Interconnection to have fully deployed smart meters. We've learned a lot from doing that. A lot of it's applicable here. We expect there'll be new things here, new capabilities and new benefits to be leveraged here in Hawaii. But it's already changing our business. I mean, just the idea that we can now see which customers are out of power is a big deal, right? Because electric companies didn't have that ability before smart meters. You didn't know if a house had service or not unless they called you or unless you went by and you saw that there were no lights on. So the fact that we can see that is allowing us to restore service quicker. It's allowing us to actually save money in terms of how we do it, because we can see that there's a problem. We can identify with much greater specificity what the problem is. We can prevent having to send a truck out more than once because they didn't solve all the problems the first time. It's transformative for how we run the business. It's also beginning to transform how our customers can interact with their utility. So we're excited about leveraging some of what we've learned and working with Hawaiian Electric on that. Another big topic is, how do we work with Hawaiian Electric to actually save money for customers, right? It's a cost of service-based business. If we can save money, ultimately attack all parts of the customer bill, that's good. So, our company's large. We have a lot of buying power. We think we're pretty good at actually leveraging that buying power with suppliers. We have a track record in the industry. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here because I know humility is valued here in Hawaii, and that's important, but I'm going to say our track record is unrivaled on major capital projects, delivering them on time and on budget. So, there are a lot of ways that we're going to explore how we can actually save money for customers and overall help with this transformation. Alan, was there anything else you wanted me to particularly talk about on that? Okay. All right. We'll leave it for questions. So then what's in it for Hawaii? First of all, for customers, cleaner, more reliable, more affordable power. We're going to demonstrate that. We fully intend to demonstrate that and be challenged to validate that during the merger approval process. And obviously that's important. Commitment to Hawaii and local communities. So, okay, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna risk being accused of not being adequately, humble. We were just honored with an award that I think is pretty extraordinary for an electric utility company. Fortune magazine does every year they do a survey of 1,400 companies around the world, and they actually survey 4,000 people about 1,400 companies, and they come up with a list of what they call the most admired companies, and they look at it overall, and then they look at certain areas. Well, we usually do pretty well on this, and I won't go into all the details, but the thing that really struck me is that this year they said NextEra Energy is the number 10 company in the world. Out of these 1,400 companies from all over the world in all industries, number 10 in the world on community responsibility. And also separately, on a separate list for innovativeness, okay? But let me just talk about the community responsibility. So the number one company in the world for community responsibility, according to Fortune, is Walt Disney, which, I think of as a pretty good company. And there were some other, companies, frankly, that I think we're all flattered and humbled to be mentioned in the same name with these companies. But I'm not saying that list is the final word, but I think it says something about how our company's viewed by people who know us and who know other companies and other utility companies as part of that. Community responsibility is important to us. At the same time, we totally get that in Hawaii, community responsibility is taken to another level. And the expectation of companies doing business here is that they are even more supportive of communities than mainland companies. And so we take that very seriously. And as part of the merger agreement, we've made some commitments as a start to demonstrate our commitment to communities. So we've said we will continue the level of charitable giving of the Hawaiian Electric companies, which I think is important to communities here. And we've said some other things. You know, the Hawaiian Electric name will continue. The company will continue to be headquartered here. It'll have its same operational locations. It'll be locally managed. And we've said, and we've also said we appreciate coming from outside that we need to learn to do business the right way in Hawaii, and we embrace that. And so one of the things one of the commitments we've made is to set up a local advisory board of 6 to 12 local people who will give us advice on the right way to do business. Respect and opportunities for employees. So our company has had some successes. We try to be humble about it. We're certainly never satisfied or complacent about it. The reason we would never be where we are today if it weren't for our employees. We've got a team of 14,000 people. Some of them have been with the company for a long time. They've been part of a lot of change and making this company what it is today. And one of our core values is treat people with respect, and obviously that starts with our employees. So employees are we're excited about the opportunity to welcome Hawaiian Electric employees into the NextEra family. And we've also said, as part of the merger agreement, we've made some commitments to hopefully set people's mind at ease on employee matters. So we've said for at least 2 years there won't be any involuntary layoffs. We're not saying there will be after that. We're just saying rest easy. That's not what this merger is about. And we've said there won't be any change in overall compensation or benefits for employees. So again, we're very excited about we've already actually have had a lot of opportunities to start to work with Hawaiian Electric. And lastly, and I keep looking back here because I can't see that far anymore. We recognize that energy is hugely important to the state of Hawaii, and that Hawaiian Electric is hugely important to energy within the state. And so this isn't just about combining with Hawaiian Electric. This is, at least the way we see it, you all are getting a partner, right? If this merger goes through, which hopefully it will, you all are getting a partner. We want to work with you. We want you to feel good about working with us. We view this as a partnership for the state, and we're very excited about that. So with that, I think we're ready for questions.
I think you can be confident there are questions for you. First question is for Alan Oshima. Why are we to assume that LNG will have any less volatility, I'm assuming price volatility, or be any cheaper than existing oil imports?
It's part of the whole LNG picture. Right now, oil is 100% subject to price fluctuation delivered to Hawaii. As we expect to get LNG, the total delivered price, the commodity price of the natural gas is just a smaller portion of the total delivered price. So we can control a larger portion of the delivered price by contract. And that's the logistics portion, the storage portion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the sensitivity of price changes on the commodity are very much dampened. So that gives us more stability. It's also from a North American source. And so there are a lot of reasons why it's not as geopolitically sensitive, but just the economics of how we get it to Hawaii will show you how the volatility of just the commodity price will not be as important to the landed price.
Our next question is for both speakers. Where does utility scale energy storage fit into what you're calling the transformation initiative?
Energy storage?
Utility scale energy storage.
Utility scale. We have an RFP, probably one of the most ambitious in the nation, for 200 megawatts of battery energy storage. We're still working through that, and I want to emphasize to you all that part of the transformation, part of the energy picture everywhere is that we can't look at things as just that piece of the puzzle. Energy storage, grid energy storage, utility energy storage has to be part of the overall delivery of a product and service to our customers. So, for example, to the extent that we can have generating sources that are able to ramp up and down much quicker than our old plants, that will relieve some of the need for voltage frequency kinds of storage. And so as the prices decline, prices will decline in the energy storage industry, and the load shedding kinds of energy storage will become more a part of the utility. I think the economies of scale on energy storage will dictate, I think, favorably towards the utility energy storage rather than individual. But again, you have to look at it holistically, just not at one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I would just add, I know there are a few folks, including in this room, who are focused on pump storage hydro as well, in addition to batteries, which, get a lot of the press now. And so I think that's an interesting possible alternative for Hawaii as well. And I think overall, the whole topic of storage is a rapidly evolving field. It's a game changer for the industry. It is particularly a game changer if you want to integrate large amounts of intermittent renewables, which is what I think most, if not all of us, want to do. So we're very excited about it.
Next question for both of you. Where does energy efficiency fit into the plan?
Energy efficiency is the best way to become more renewable. No doubt about it. And so that part of the portfolio is currently with the Public Utilities Commission, Hawaii Energy. And so we firmly believe in it. Our demand response programs that we're about to file an application with the PUC on will actually also allow some more efficiencies in a different way. But we all know that conservation is probably the best way to reach a more renewable future at the lowest cost.
I'm trying to make sure I'm reading this right. If the tendency is the conversion of customers to small microgrids, how does that impact the business model for HECO and I assume generally Hawaiian Electric?
Evolving topic. I think there's a lot to be, on all of these things, there are no black and white answers. Again, things that we think about even in our company, there shouldn't be a win-lose. There are probably some hybrids that we ought to be looking at that benefits all of our customers. And that's the bottom line for us. How does it benefit all of our customers, the economy of the state, because that will really preserve the company. Microgrids, if it were structured correctly, may make sense, and I think will be part of the energy future going forward. There was a discussion of this yesterday at the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative. So again, it's an evolving topic. I think all of the stakeholders should be around the table looking at all of the issues and opportunities on that, and again, not looking at anything as black or white.
Did you want to add any comments on that?
Not particularly.
Okay. Two specific questions for Nextera here. I'm going to ask them together. You can answer them together or separately. First, how can Nextera collaborate with a demonstration project existing on Maui now? It says JSM. I know that means Jump Smart Maui, which is the EV project. And the second one, given Maui residents' desire to minimize dependency on imported energy sources generally, how can LNG be a solution for Maui? And I understand that Alan spoke about LNG, but this question is directed specifically to Nextera.
So the Jumpstart Maui program, I candidly don't know enough about. So look, I'm interested to learn more about it. And I think the question on LNG was, I'm going to rephrase the question, but how can replacing one dependency for another be a good thing? Is that a fair way to? I agree, and I appreciate that many people's view, and certainly sympathize with the view that imported fossil fuels is an exposure for the economy, for security of supply, and is something, given the prolific renewable resources here, is something that, look, if we can eliminate any dependency on imported fossil fuels and at the same time save customers money, that's terrific. The question is, how do you get from here to there? At least the way we're thinking about it. So we think of LNG, and I think the governor has made this point, we agree with him, as a transitional fuel, as a transitional solution. And you know, as long as that's the case and it is truly a bridge rather than a bridge to a bridge, then I think it's a question of, you know, can LNG save money during this interim period, and can it be better for the environment? And we think the answer to that is yes.
Another follow-up question for Nextera, Mr. Gleason. How do the customers benefit from smart meters rather than the utility?
So I'm going to tell you a little story. So we have developed over the last 30 years a lot of people who are very into statistics and analyzing processes and trying to improve processes using data. And so obviously we have these smart meters, we now have a lot of data. And our engineers have figured out how to use that data and statistics to predict outages before they happen. And so we are now able to predict 40% of outages at the distribution level before they happen. And so we are having situations now where we are going up and knocking on customers' doors and saying, excuse me, you're about to have an outage. That is enhancing to the customer's value proposition. Okay, so that is one example. If you can improve reliability, first of all, if you can improve reliability, full stop, that's good for customers. If you can reduce costs, that's good for customers. Smart meters are helping us do that. But I think maybe where the question is going is, you know, or at least I think another part of the question to explore is how can it change the customer's interaction, how they interact with the utility. And I think that's something we're in the very early stages of in Florida, and I think there's going to be a lot more need to do that with a sense of urgency here in Hawaii. So I don't want to suggest that the smart meter program, the rollout, the way we use it in Florida is exactly how we would propose that Hawaiian Electric do it here. We've had some discussions around that, and they're already talking about doing some incremental things that go beyond, you know, the capabilities we have in Florida. So part of this is a work in progress, but it's clearly enhanced the customer's value proposition.
Got one more question for here, and of course there are quite a few other questions that I hope we'll be able to kind of ask in alternate forums, and I think hopefully these gentlemen will make themselves available to some degree outside. So last question for you from this batch. How will you, sorry, let me try reading this differently. How will the changes in customer generation be embraced by Nextera moving forward, and the commenters making a statement that putting PV on your roof has been very difficult under HEI, and specifically asking, is there a way that you're going to embrace customer generation differently?
We embrace it. We've said we support the goals that Hawaiian Electric's articulated, that Alan's talked about, of tripling distributed solar through 2030. Yeah, I'm certainly aware, Alan's certainly aware that there's been some frustration with the pace of interconnections, and you know, they're resolving that. So you know, I think we support their efforts to work through that and to do it as quickly as possible, and more fundamentally to you know, help to be part of forming and implementing a sustainable future for distributed energy, whether it's solar or other forms of distributed energy resources here in Hawaii. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, Doug, if I may, just to address that, there are breakthroughs now in working with the industry, with the inverter manufacturers, with NREL and others, that are going to allow a quicker resolution of allowing more people to have rooftop solar. So while people think that we have slowed down the process for our gain, we don't gain anything by it. Under decoupling, we are incented to move people forward, but our obligation to serve is to serve all of our customers and to preserve the integrity of the grid. And there are real issues on the amount of solar that can be accommodated without some real improvements, either in circuits, on the customer side, or on the grid. So it's not because we don't want to do it, it's because we're doing our job. So, but we're trying to do it better, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, folks, again, I know there are a lot of other questions, but we're going to stop at this point, take a break, and come on back after the break. Thank you very much.